We open on a pink hexagonal barrier eating what appears to be a very bad day, while a woman with her back turned to certain death volunteers to handle defense. As you do, casually, in a desolate void. Someone is observing with that specific energy of a man who already knows how this ends. Someone else's braid is having a bad feeling about it, and our smug, light brown-haired guy is smirking downward like he just got a notification he expected. Then scream, wide eyes, fresh wound in the snow. The holy trinity of Manhwa cold opens, delivered at speed, no filler, straight to the stab. Our smug guy puts a knife in the chest of someone who trusted him, blood dripping, and then, I want you to really sit with this. His critique of the situation is that they were too cocky. Patch notes, Episode 1, the villain has already filed a complaint. If they can't clear the 8th floor, the 9th floor is, and I'm quoting here, a pipe dream. We are 20 panels into Chapter 1, and the stakes are already being delivered via speech bubble with no speaker attached, as God intended. Let's back up. We are in the plains of extinction, which, respectfully, is not a name that inspires confidence in the HR department, and an absolutely massive column of people is marching through the snow towards something that definitely wants to kill them. The landscape is doing full apocalyptic screensaver energy, blue glowing crevices, snow falling sideways, and armored boots crunching through ice in formation. Someone in the art department stayed late for this, and we respect the overtime. The raid party assembles. Fur-lined pauldrons across the board. This is a high-budget expedition, and the dress code was apparently medieval apocalypse chic. One knight is radiating so much imposing energy the light is physically bending around them. We get a blonde man with the 1,000-yard stare of someone who has wiped on this floor before. And then our guy with his back to us, fist raised at the horizon, coat billowing, addressing a field of glowing monoliths like he has a personal grievance with the architecture. Exposition arrives on schedule. Here again today to take down the 8th floor guardian. The man delivering this energy is identified as Kazuki Kyojo, rank 6, Blue Zone Guild Master, which is the Manhwa equivalent of showing up to a dungeon raid with a LinkedIn badge. The soldiers lock in and march. Spears out, formation tight, those glowing ancient structures looming in the background like a tutorial zone that has clearly not been balanced for human survival. This is either a very organized raid or the most elaborate group therapy session ever staged. Then we get the party roster delivered via cinematic pan. Golden eye, blue sclere, dark hair falling across the face. That's our protagonist doing the mandatory I contain multitudes close up. Behind him, a crew that includes a muscular red-haired man who is already smirking, a winking blonde woman, and a white-haired hooded figure who is giving absolutely nothing away. Someone calls out Subaru, there's our protagonist's name, and he turns around to a handshake with a smiling man who seems genuinely delighted to see him, which in a Manhwa Tower raid context means this man is either very important or about to be very dead. Subaru was apparently the first one here, which tracks. The type of guy who raises his fist at empty snowfields for motivation is absolutely showing up 40 minutes before call time. Someone asks if the Muram Alliance is joining this run, and the answer is basically, yeah, obviously Subaru Narukami is leading it, they are not going to miss this. Subaru slides something to Kazuki. Hand off, confused handshake energy. And then we get the item window, Archangel's Blessing, rank legendary, equip level 50+, recovers 50% fatigue when you hit 100% exhaustion, 1 use remaining. The system, which has not been given a personality but is developing one out of spite, has decided this item belongs in the raid. The recipient, blonde, red-eyed, already sweating in negative-degree temperatures, holds up this glowing red and gold medallion with the expression of a man who just received a gift he absolutely does not feel worthy of, which in Manhwa is the correct face to make when someone hands you a legendary consumable. Then, in the middle of a pre-raid gear check on a death floor, Subaru asks, "Hey, when this is over, do you want to come back to Blue Earth?" The glowing angel medallion catches the light. The silence is doing a lot of work. There is an ellipsis. That ellipsis has feelings. Subaru puts a hand on Kazuki's shoulder and then something hits. Fast, an impact out of nowhere. Both of them react immediately, and someone, with the calm of a man who has already checked the calendar for today's near-death experience, simply says, "It's here." Nobody expected it this soon. Which, classic floor guardian behavior, showing up before the party finishes their pre-fight dialogue like some kind of aggressive dungeon middle manager. The energy that arrives is teal, swirling, and absolutely not interested in waiting for everyone to buff up. Warriors get hit by light streaks, and the screaming is immediate and sincere. Someone shouts to prepare for combat, which is a generous amount of communication given that people are already airborne involuntarily. The name card drops. See Dragon Hydra. And then we see it, not one head, multiple heads, glowing blue, all teeth, all aggression, materializing from the dark like the game just loaded the mid-boss and forgot to include a loading screen warning. Subaru turns to face the entire thing from behind, which is a composition choice that says I am the protagonist, and the monster is merely a difficult NPC. He addresses the Hydra, and I will quote this verbatim because the game writers absolutely did not miss, "You ugly bastard." Golden energy pours from a gloved hand. The system window activates and informs us, with the energy of a very concerned smartwatch, that lightning energy is coursing through someone's body. Subaru's glowing blue eye is visible through the mask, and there is a UI element floating nearby that has clearly been following him around waiting for this moment. Yellow and black energy erupts. A golden armored figure steps forward and delivers the most direct declaration of intent in this entire chapter. Today is the day you die. The Hydra, for its part, shows us an extreme close-up of its eye, red slit pupil, and all, which is the dragon equivalent of I'm going to need you to say that again. The Hydra powers up, teal energy floods the frame. Breath attack incoming, Kazuki calls it out, full panic, cover now, and from somewhere off to the side, a hand on a sword hilt says simply, no need. The Hydra, confused, asks what are you? Which is genuinely a great question because Subaru is now surrounded by multiple glowing serpentine energy dragons that he has apparently summoned from his own vibes, and the Hydra is discovering that it has accidentally initiated a 1v1 that is actually more of a 1v-many. He stands in front of the beast, sword in hand, another figure on the ground behind him, and the sky above is lightning and debris, and this man looks absolutely at home in it. This is the face of someone who has been doing this long enough that apocalyptic dragon standoff registers as a Tuesday. The Hydra blasts. He goes into it. Blue energy streaks across the frame, black brushstrokes, and Subaru launches himself airborne mid-blast, surrounded by yellow lightning, kicking downward into a sea of enemies below with the energy of a man who has completely lost interest in conventional survival tactics. Wide shot. The multi-headed Hydra is now airborne with wings out, energy descending from above. The army is charging across the tundra, green blasts firing from the foreground. A starburst crack opening in the sky. This is either the climax of the raid or a very aggressive patch being deployed to the server mid-session. Kazuki is watching this with the expression of someone who has just seen their mentor do something incomprehensible and needs several minutes to process. The red-haired guy is already calling it amazing. Someone else says, "Geez, old man, you're always," and the sentence ends there, which is fine. The sentence was already doing enough. The blonde-haired fighter, watching from the back, is frustrated. They wanted the first hit and they didn't get it. We respect this. Deeply. The most relatable emotion in this entire chapter is being mad that someone cooler than you got the kill feed entry. Someone with yellow eyes wants to know what Subaru handed Kazuki earlier. The answer is, you'll find out later. This is the Manhwa equivalent of the system saying information locked, current clearance insufficient, and we are writing it into the patch notes as a known issue. Subaru asks if everyone's ready and then gives the line of the chapter, "Let's kill that damn dragon." The full party assembles in frame, weapons out, expressions locked. The red-haired man is still smirking because of course he is, and this is the poster. Someone at the studio is printing this. Ice crystal in hand, masked figure with a glowing sword hilt. A blade with a white edge resting tip down in the snow. And the declaration, break through this hellish 8th floor. Patch note 1-0-1, floor 8 remains uncleared. Active objectives. 1 dragon, several deaths pending, 1 legendary item already handed out to someone who looked nervous about it. The Hydra is not interested in the party's motivational speech. 2 massive white-scaled dragons collide with each other in a tangle of teeth and glowing energy, roaring into the camera with the full commitment of a creature that has never once considered de-escalation as an option. The adventurers walk straight toward them, directly toward them. No hesitation. Not a single person in this group has a self-preservation instinct, and honestly that is why we are here. Subaru glances back with a half-smirk. The kind of expression you make when you've already decided how this fight ends and you're just waiting for reality to catch up. And the act closes on that face, because nothing ends a raid opener like the main character looking mildly entertained by his own survival odds. And we open on a pink hexagonal barrier taking a hit, which is exactly the kind of image that makes you think, okay, someone on this team built a support character, and we respect that decision. The long-haired defender plants herself in front of the chaos and calls her shot, which is the kind of confidence that in Manhwa either makes you a fan favorite or puts you in the next 3 panels of consequences. Quick flashback context, because we need to appreciate what these people were doing 5 minutes ago. Fighting a purple-scaled horned nightmare with glowing red eyes midair, which is a Tuesday for this party apparently. A dark-clad swordsman vaults straight into a monster's open mouth with crackling yellow energy, and 3 other fighters are airborne around an ice formation doing synchronized damage, which reads less like a dungeon raid and more like a choreographed audition. Someone long-haired dives arm first into a blue energy wave, and the magic effect takes up the whole panel, which is the Manhwa equivalent of the game saying the damage number is too large to display. The masked woman with glowing yellow eyes charges in low angle, followed immediately by the white-haired cloaked figure wrapped in blue energy going straight at the monster's face. And this is what a coordinated team comp looks like before the patch notes ruin it. Meanwhile, the dark-haired fighter surrounded by red energy is calling this a walk in the park, and immediately challenges someone to a damage race, which is the in-universe equivalent of a DPS player typing in party chat at the worst possible time. Glowing yellow eyes, menacing grin, red energy sword, and the line is delivered to someone named Tashia specifically. The way you call your teammate's name right before you steal their kill. Red energy detonates, a cape-wearing fighter runs a monster through and blood absolutely erupts, and the monster's roaring close-up confirms it has received the message. It simply does not appreciate it. The protagonist calls his shot with the most chaotic team-building incentive possible. Loser buys dinner. And then a white light punches clean through the monster's skull while the gray-haired guy grins like he already knows who's paying. The monster is reeling, blue energy everywhere, and a young woman conjures a glowing pink orb with a golden bell in her other hand, which is either a healing ability or the most aggressively whimsical offensive toolkit in the raid. Someone's braid snaps around in surprise. The young man smirks down with a huh that carries 0 alarm and maximum warning sign energy, and the audience at home is already leaning forward. A dark-haired woman in a fur-lined coat looks sideways with a slight blush in the cold air. And then someone nearby screams with the kind of full-body distortion that means this is no longer a normal raid completion cutscene. Fresh wound, blood on snow. And then, the panel this entire act has been building toward, a young woman with wide, shocked eyes gets a knife in the chest from the smirking young man standing directly behind her. His verdict delivered through a speech bubble that is darker than the rest and knows exactly what it's doing. You guys are way too cocky, that's your problem. Outstanding villain line. 0 notes, horrible human being. 5 stars. Someone activates in response, masked, fist clenched. Dark energy tendrils with gold sparks crawling off his arm. The body language of a man who has just received information he cannot unreceive. A braided fighter falls backward with blood leaving her head at high velocity. Another woman's lower body shows a blue dress turning a darker shade from the top down. And the raid has officially transitioned from a win screen to an incident report. The scarred young man smiles in the snow holding a spear like a man who planned his loadout for exactly this moment. And somewhere behind another party member, something sharp enters a skull from the back. He looks directly into the camera with blood on his face and a smile that says, "I would do this again," and the wounded figure on the ground delivers the only appropriate line. This isn't the time to be looking away. A masked figure stands in front of a looming dragon-shaped shadow with glowing eyes, and from somewhere in the wreckage, a voice asks Kazuki why. The dragon does not answer. Kazuki definitely does not answer. The vibe answers. A blood-stained sword, a closed grip, snow coming down, achievement unlocked, ate the cake and also stabbed everyone at the party. Wake up. There is an object glowing at you with what I can only describe as narrative urgency. And someone is already calling out a name that is not yours, because you are not you anymore, and the chapter has decided to skip the gentle onboarding. You are Subaru Hasoi now, apparently broke Subaru Hasoi. The game has already looked at the room and passed judgment, and the system is not being subtle about it. Search query, blue eyes. Results, 0. The system, which is slowly developing a personality out of spite, has decided that the most important person in this story does not exist as far as the database is concerned, and our guy is staring at this screen like it personally wronged him. He is scrolling through profiles on a little futuristic transparent tablet, which is absolutely the future equivalent of doom scrolling at 2 in the morning trying to figure out if someone you know is still alive, which is exactly what is happening here, let's be honest. And then he sits on the bed, grabs his head with both hands, and fully marinating in the distress of the situation, which is the correct response, for the record, to waking up in someone else's body with a dead person's name and a system that can't find your entire life story. But let's rewind, because this chapter actually opens with a declaration so committed it deserves its own monument. He is not letting someone pull that again, ever, full stop, delivered in the most aggressively spiky speech bubble the artist could legally render. Glowing blue eyes, white tank top, the whole aesthetic activated, he is going to make his second chance count, which is the regression speedrun's equivalent of clicking New Game Plus and immediately setting the difficulty to Nightmare before the tutorial is finished. He looks up startled, because there is already someone kneeling at his feet, which is a social situation most of us are not equipped to handle before coffee. And the hierarchy implications of this moment are doing a lot of work very early in the chapter. Someone gets a reassuring shoulder touch and reacts like they have been handed a live grenade, which is understandable when the person doing the reassuring has yellow eyes and a smile that is clearly doing more diplomatic work than it looks like on the surface. A mask has been displaced, and based on the absolute panic in that speech bubble, losing this mask is the social equivalent of someone pulling your pants down at a memorial service, which, given where we are going in about 30 seconds, is uncomfortably on brand. Two people spin around very concerned about a Minato. Our guy puts a hand on somebody's shoulder and tells everyone to relax. It was just a light bump. The smile he is wearing while saying this could be used to sell insurance and also to start wars. A masked figure asks if everyone is okay. A hand lands on a young boy's shoulder, and our protagonist's internal monologue short-circuits because he recognizes these people. And the recognition is not nostalgic and warm. It is the kind that makes the chest tighten and the eyes go wide, and the thought bubble just say these people TOO. He stands there processing, while a family walks away toward the light like an establishing shot from a film that is about to become a tragedy. And he is stuck in the foreground doing the math on exactly how much history he is standing inside of right now. Something hits. He flinches, covers his face, and reacts with the kind of whole-body horror that is not about physical pain. This is a man who has just been confirmed in a fact he was hoping was wrong, and his face is processing it in real time with zero grace. We cut to a memorial hall full of masked attendees, which is a completely normal and not at all suspicious aesthetic choice for a public ceremony. Everyone is wearing black ornate masks and consulting glowing devices, so the vibe is somewhere between a Venice masquerade and a very fancy cult AGM. Outside, a large, muscular man stands over someone on the ground. A masked figure is grabbing someone's arm on concrete, and someone's internal voice asks what the hell is going on here, which is a question the viewer is also asking, and we appreciate the solidarity. A voice says it's a shame it came to this, wearing a smile that has never once in its life felt shame about anything, and then follows it up with "Don't look so sad," the full villain starter pack, delivered with the kind of calm that is actually more threatening than shouting. Yellow eyes, sharp teeth, a cut on the lip, and the announcement that someone will remain in history as a hero, which is villain for we are going to do something extremely bad to you, and I want you to know I have reframed it as a compliment. Our guy is walking through this, white tank top, clenched fist, and he is connecting dots now. Is this what he meant by that is the face of a man who just found the footnote that recontextualizes every chapter he has already read, and it is not a comfortable footnote. He walks into what is unmistakably a memorial framed portrait. Candles, flowers on a coffin, mourners, the whole solemn infrastructure of loss. And the question forming in his chest is whether all of this is legitimate grief or something built on a much uglier foundation. The answer arrives in the form of a skeptical internal monologue asking, if this is all just a scheme to steal the glory of blue eyes. And look, if you are asking whether a smug yellow-eyed villain at a very suspicious memorial with masks everywhere might have an ulterior motive. The patch notes say yes. Patch 1.0, villain alignment confirmed. Then the flowers start glowing, and I want to be clear that this is not a metaphor. The flowers are literally emanating blue light, with kanji appearing among them like the universe is leaving a sticky note. And our guy's eyes go wide because the game world has decided to send a notification through the floral arrangement. Everyone around him flinches with impact lines. He is staring forward with sweat on his temple, and the specific expression of a person who just felt the world acknowledge him in a way that has no normal explanation. Achievement unlocked. The funeral flowers know your name. Someone yells at him to watch where he is going. Someone else grabs him by the collar and tells him to wait his turn. And he is standing in the middle of it with sweat everywhere and a heartbeat that the sound effects are making very literal. The crowd is not receiving him warmly, and he has not technically introduced himself yet. He approaches the altar anyway, kneels, touches the ground with one hand, and the flowers shimmer again with that same soft, impossible blue light. And I want you to notice that the world keeps reacting to him like it recognizes something he is still in the process of remembering about himself. His hand reaches into the glowing flowers. A voice asks if that's really him, and he is looking upward with wide eyes and a drop of sweat and the specific face of a man who was not prepared to be recognized. And then someone produces a crystalline glowing flower like it is an ID card for a dead person's soul, and that is exactly what it is. Shigeru Asajiri. That is the name that drops, and it lands with the weight of a name that has been kept very carefully not said for a very long time, which in Manhwa physics means the owner of that name is about to matter enormously. We cut to a completely different conversation happening outside in a modern city. Two people walking, reflecting that this year's memorial passed without incident, which is the kind of sentence that functions as a jinx and the story knows it. One of them thinks the word carefree, questions whether all the ceremony is even necessary, mentions they nearly ran into something called blue zone, and floats the idea that chrysanthemums should be enough, which is the most someone has ever passive-aggressively complained about a funeral while walking away from it. A hood comes down, white hair, blue eyes, blue energy crackling gently at the hand and around the neck like someone whose power settings are idling at 30% even at a memorial. This person is calm in the way that very powerful things are calm right before they are not. He thinks about whether Subaru noticed the flowers he left. A hooded figure asks if he actually thinks that kid is still alive, and the white-haired man says he has not confirmed it with his own eyes yet, which is the composed version of yes, I think he is alive, and I am keeping that hope extremely close to the chest where no one can audit it. The hooded companion fully loses it. 20 years of watching and waiting poured into one very loud declaration that they would not have just stood by if they had known. And based on the open-mouthed panel energy, this person has been holding that in for the entirety of those 20 years. The white-haired man just smiles serenely at the ground, which is the most infuriating possible response to a person having an emotional crisis. While somewhere else entirely a man is doubled over exhausted, and someone is asking, quietly, carefully, if she is really alive, which lands as the most significant question this chapter has asked yet. The exhausted man slumps under a green tree at sunset, having clearly just run the kind of errand that costs you something. And we complete the loop back to Subaru on his bed, grabbing his head in both hands, sitting in a broke man's room, carrying a dead legend's weight, with a system that cannot find the name he is actually looking for, and a glowing flower that somehow found him first. Patch 1.0.3. Identity system overhauled, old save file not found, new character assigned, previous achievements untracked, previous name not in the database, previous life apparently a very big deal, good luck Subaru or whoever you actually are. And we open on our guy absolutely demolishing a goblin with a glowing blue energy arc, which is objectively a cool way to start any act, and also a pretty strong argument that the tutorial difficulty settings were miscalibrated from the jump. He pauses to reflect on the body he woke up in. The system, ever helpful, takes this moment of existential crisis to ask if he would like to challenge the next step for additional goblins and additional rewards. Therapy is not on the menu. Let's rewind just slightly to appreciate the venue. The tutorial exam hall, a grand multi-story building with columns and arched windows that is doing entirely too much architecturally for what is functionally a goblin killing range. Exam Proctor Huger, A bald man with a magnificent white beard and deeply crossed arms stands over three already defeated bloody bodies and watches the proceedings with the energy of a PE teacher who has seen too much and stopped caring before any of us were born. The other participants are going through it. One guy with a top knot finishes off a pair of goblins while absolutely soaked in his own blood, and Huger's assessment is that he barely passed, delivered with the warmth of a form rejection email. Another participant kneels in shock next to a fresh corpse, sword trembling, and the system immediately goes. Next, a dead goblin lies on the tile, the question hanging in the air, and the answer from the room is a very firm no. The system explains the deal. Every additional step adds goblins, every additional step adds rewards, and every additional step is apparently optional, which several participants discover with great enthusiasm the moment they read the words 3 at once and immediately tap out with the full force of their convictions. Meanwhile, one participant is still going, sword glowing blue, and someone in the crowd has already written him off, calling the ceiling of his run right to his face in the way that only side characters in Manhwa feel empowered to do. Huger watches a goblin dissolve into blue energy particles on the tile, picks up his little evaluation device, and thinks to himself that he cannot believe he has to pass a wimp like this, which is perhaps the most passive-aggressive thought in the history of proctored examinations. The broader assessment of the cohort is devastating. Aside from one person clearing step 20, the entire intake shows no promise whatsoever, and a large, shadowy figure with clawed hands agrees from the sidelines, which tells you everything about the quality bar when the demon in the corner is your harshest critic. Huger sighs the sigh of a man who chose this job and is now regretting the choice sequence, picks up his device again, and the system, already loaded and ready, confirms, generating 2 goblins. Our protagonist walks forward across the tile, sneakers, dark jacket, sword in hand, while Huger watches with a tablet and the expression of a man who has audited several hundred of these and is prepared to be thoroughly underwhelmed one more time. The system window goes live. The goblins spawn in glowing blue, and they immediately lunge forward with spiked clubs and glowing red eyes, because that is their entire personality, and the system did not give them a second one. Huger barely gets through announcing the start of the tutorial before our guy is already moving, not walking, not jogging, full kinetic lunge, blue energy rectangles lighting up the ground under him as he closes the distance before the sentence is finished. Something very bad happens to a goblin, and the evidence of it travels past Huger's head at speed, which earns the most perfectly calibrated wide-eyed look a bald proctor has ever produced. Huger observes from a distance as a shadowy arm dissolves into red particles on the tile, our guy standing over it with blood on his chest, and a smug expression that is doing more commentary on the difficulty level than anything we could add. Step climbing begins in earnest, and the energy starts crackling, blue lightning, wide panicked eyes, Huger screaming at the edge of his operating parameters. And we are now officially in sportscaster territory. Enemies are dropping. He hits one, wait, 2 at once. The floor is a crime scene. He's standing in it like a man checking his email. And Huger realizes he's not swinging blindly. He's reading 2 moves ahead. No, 3 moves ahead. The shock on the proctor's face is doing a full 5-stage grief sequence in real time. He's going for the flanked one. Blood off the hilt. Huger out loud, that's not just swordsmanship. Correct observation, Huger. We have been trying to explain this from the beginning. Movements Huger can't replicate. And our guy looks back over his shoulder with golden eyes and a smirk that should be illegal to deploy against someone who is technically your examiner. Huger's eyes are glowing blue now. Whether that's a power activation or just the look a man gets when his entire understanding of a tutorial exam begins to structurally fail is genuinely unclear, and I respect the ambiguity. A monster gets a sword through the neck. Someone nearby is kneeling collecting the aftermath into a stitched bag, which is a job that exists in this world, and we are not going to think about it too hard. Step 49 cleared. The system asks about the final boss with all the casual energy of a vending machine offering an upgrade. Our guy looks at it with purple glowing eyes, blood in the background, and stadium steps behind him, and the answer is obviously yes. Blue hands manifest, a wave of defeated green bodies on the floor, a sword held at rest. The body count at this point in the tutorial is a genuine patch notes issue, and we would like to formally flag it for the dev team. The ground cracks, blue lightning tears through the tile. A massive clawed hand erupts from the floor and the whole arena shakes with the kind of impact that suggests the final boss has opinions about being kept waiting. Goblins are physically launched through the air by the boss's arrival, which is a flex move, when you show up and the small enemies scatter before anyone throws a single punch. That's a strong entrance. Honestly respect the commitment to the bit. The system, which has not been given a personality but is developing one out of spite, displays a single word: kill. And that is when Huger, sweating, eyes blown wide, finally drops the line that recontextualizes this entire act. Wait, you're not Narukami, which means our guy has been casually dismantling a tutorial designed for someone else, in a body he didn't ask for, and the system just watched it happen and said nothing, because of course it did. A bandaged arm reaches out from the blur, and we are left with more questions than we started with, specifically. Who is Narukami? What was this exam actually testing for? And does the system get a performance review because some decisions were made here that deserve a debrief? That face, that is the face of someone who has already calculated 17 different ways to win a fight he technically cannot win, and is choosing the one that looks coolest on a highlight reel. The system helpfully announces the Goblin King, capitalized, holographic, extremely official. And then the Goblin King immediately proves the title is earned by going full enrage mode before anyone has even finished reading the UI. The veterans in the arena lose their minds, specifically the bald guy with the mustache, who is yelling with the energy of someone watching a junior dev push directly to production on a Friday afternoon. The warning from the crowd is textbook. Don't get greedy, the stat gap is insurmountable. No amount of skill closes a hard numerical deficit. Which, valid, this is literally the premise of every RPG ever made until the protagonist decides it isn't. And Subaru acknowledges it, genuinely, actually, out loud. He knows his stats mean he probably can't deal any real damage here, and that single moment of self-awareness puts him in the top 5% of Manhwa protagonists by humility score. Even so, 2 words, sword hilt, gloved hand gripping it like it owes him rent, the man has already decided. Stats are a suggestion. Patch notes are advisory. We are not leaving. He points forward, yellow eyes, stormy sky behind him, the full protagonist starter pack. And something about the framing says this isn't bravado. This is just the guy telling you what's going to happen next. Then he drops his sword. The crowd watches a weapon hit blood-stained ground next to a sneaker, and the bald mustache man enters what I can only describe as a spiritual crisis. Someone shouts that they knew something was off about him from the start, sir. You have known him for 4 pages, you knew nothing. You are retroactively pattern matching, and we all see it. The Goblin King does not care about the crowd's discourse. The Goblin King is lunging. Subaru steps on the incoming claw, steps on it, like it's a bug. Like the Goblin King just tried to pet him from below and got shut down. He walks, then something small, dark, and glowing blue goes somewhere it was not invited. The Goblin King's leg just became a pincushion, and nobody warned us this was a needle's build. The Goblin King looks down at the small blade embedded in his thigh, then looks up with glowing red eyes and a tusk-framed expression that is technically a face, but reads more like a formal declaration of war. He actually looks confused, and that confusion is load-bearing, because the Goblin King has probably never taken damage from someone in Subaru's stat bracket, and the whole worldview is starting to buffer. Subaru, crouched over the goblins he has already cleared out, by the way, casually, as a warm-up, is now holding 3 glowing claw needles dripping blue, wearing the expression of someone who has been waiting to show you his main build. He proposes a bet. Needles into the Goblin King's leg, several already embedded. The terms are whether you take me down first or I fill you with enough holes to qualify as ventilation. And that line is doing a lot of work for someone in the underdog slot. The smirk on his face and the glowing blade in the foreground and the blue liquid just casually dripping. This man is running a full poison dex build at level whatever and looking smug about the math. Honestly, respectable. Yellow eyes locked. The throw goes, multiple glowing needles all at once, and his face has the calm of someone who has done this particular side quest before. He demands the Goblin King's answer. The Goblin King's answer is pain and purple energy, and the kind of roar that means the stat block is being actively challenged for the first time in its career. The king comes back with teeth, full open jaw lunge, the kind of attack that has absolutely no counterplay listed in the tutorial, and lands something because Subaru takes a hit and the impact markers do not lie. but Subaru's already standing over two more downed goblins, and then the axe swings, and then Subaru isn't where the axe expected him to be, and the Goblin King is learning that high stats and good aim are not the same skill. Blue energy kick? Full contact, armored torso, the Goblin King recoils in a way that the stat sheet said was impossible 15 panels ago. Achievement unlocked. Empirical proof that the gap closes anyway. Something shatters, blue fragments, debris, and Subaru looking up with that dead serious face that means the fight just entered its second phase. Then he's airborne, leaping through ruined structures like the arena itself is a level that's breaking around him. Meanwhile, and the scene cut here is doing a lot, some muscular guy is training with a sword and MS. Renat is correcting his throwing form, telling him to feel the center of gravity, because in this world even the side quests have structured mentorship. And then the thesis drops. Anything can become a throwing knife if you understand its center of gravity, which is both a lesson in physics and a threat, delivered by someone who will absolutely write the answer in your face before you finish reading the question. The Goblin King is bleeding from multiple wounds, glowing blades embedded across its body, and its armored foot stomps down with the desperate energy of a raid boss who just noticed the health bar going the wrong direction. Patch notes update. Needle's build is busted. Stat advantage nerfed to hell. Please buff the Goblin King or he's cooked. We enter the act mid-consequence. The Goblin King has just found out what happens when you bring an axe to a registered genius fight, and the answer is a lot of blood, most of it yours. The blood splatter panel is doing a lot of work here. The motion lines are doing overtime. Whoever does the sound design for this dungeon is either getting a bonus or a psych evaluation, possibly both. The system, delighted, pops up to inform us that we have cleared the Step 50 tutorial for the first time, which, and I cannot stress this enough, is still the tutorial. We are still in the tutorial. Our protagonist, hand on forehead, shares our frustration verbatim. The system just threw a Goblin King into what is legally described as a practice stage, and he is filing a complaint in real time. Same, honestly. Then the system, completely ignoring the feedback, floods the screen with level-up notifications, credit drops, and achievement points, because nothing says we hear your concerns like immediately burying them under loot pop-ups. And then achievement unlocked. Tutorial shop, stage exclusive, 2,425 points in the wallet, cannot be transferred, cannot be refunded, please spend responsibly. He's staring at the shop interface with the energy of someone who has never seen this screen before in any prior run, which, for a regression protagonist, is actually meaningful information. This is new content, people. We are in uncharted territory. The shop itself is the standard low-budget RPG starter catalog. HP potions, a medicinal robe, something called cross-cut, all priced like a Steam sale on a Wednesday. Nothing flashy, nothing suspicious, nothing to see here. And then he scrolls and finds a weapon that is dark red, ornate, aggressively spiky, and named the Nameless Demon Sword, which is a bold naming choice for something that is very clearly named. 1,000 achievement points. The eye goes wide. We understand. The catch, because there is always a catch, is that it feeds on HP to function, which means you are literally paying for power with your own body, which is either very dark thematic writing or just the standard premium weapon business model. He pulls up the alternative. The Holy Sword Miranda, 1,400 points, reduces fatigue, extends combat duration, silver, elegant, the responsible adult choice, the kind of weapon a financial advisor would recommend inside a dungeon. Demon Sword, destructive, risky, probably haunted. Holy Sword, safe, efficient, tasteful. He stares at both. He sweats. Neither really clicks. The man is standing in a shop with over 2,000 points and somehow experiencing decision paralysis. We have all been here. This is the Amazon checkout screen. There is literally a scale of justice behind him while he deliberates, which this Manhwa deployed without irony, and for that, we respect it completely. He knows these initial points matter. He is playing the long game, which means we should probably be paying attention. Then he scrolls further, realizes the shop goes deeper, touches the interface with the energy of someone who just found a hidden menu, and we watch the exact moment a plan begins to form behind his eyes. The sweat drop changes texture. It becomes a sweat drop of interest. A skull wearing a crown on a purple background. The skill is called Wedge of Greed. It costs 1,400 points, and its effect is suppresses side effects of skills and items used by the user. The system, developing a personality out of spite, has quietly listed an anti-self-destruction skill inside the practice shop. Noted. He has never seen a skill with an effect like this, which, again, from a man running a regression playthrough, is the equivalent of a Pokémon speedrunner finding a move that doesn't exist in their version of the game. Something is structurally different about this run. The math clicks. Wedge of Greed suppresses debuffs. Demon Sword deals damage through HP consumption. Lightning consumes HP and inflicts debuffs. Stack all three, suppress the downside, keep the upside. He taps the button. Purchased. Demon Sword purchased. 2,400 points responsibly spent. The financial advisor weeps. He equips the Demon Sword, looks directly into the middle distance with yellow eyes and a smug expression, and the energy is immaculate. This is the face of a man who has just unlocked a build that should not be available in Chapter 4. He test swings it. It works. The white-haired old man watching this whole sequence, who has apparently been judging every purchase like a stern guidance counselor, concedes, good choice, high compatibility. The old man pats him on the chest with the energy of a disappointed teacher who is secretly impressed and cannot admit it. Enter Hyuga, supervisor. Apparently cannot understand the build choice from a supervisory standpoint, which is a sentence that sounds like it was generated by HR software, but is delivered with total sincerity. The old man stares at him with the expression of someone doing a background check in real time. Hyuga's critique: the skill might not be useful, it's not efficient, and he wants a full explanation. Our protagonist, holding a demon sword and operating on regression knowledge no one else in this room has access to, would like Hyuga to know that he is not going to explain every little detail. Hyuga looms. The mask is very large and very close to his face. The protagonist is, to his credit, still holding the demon sword and not actually moving, which is either confidence or a speedrunner's refusal to engage with optional dialogue. Hyuga ultimately lets it go because, quote, you must be tired right after the exam, and the protagonist smirks because he absolutely is not tired. He just defeated a boss with a build he engineered from scratch. But sure, we can attribute it to fatigue. Then the old man clocks the name, Hyuga, and something shifts. There is history here. The kind of history that gets described as snot-nosed brat in polite company, which means this story has a pre-existing beef subplot we have not been formally introduced to yet. A nervous brown-haired kid materializes and asks for an autograph. Hyuga responds that he does not have one. Not that he won't give one, that he literally does not have an autograph, as if the concept has never been relevant to his existence and he sees no reason to start now. The old man explodes about etiquette, about how in his day learning manners was the first step to becoming a player, and our protagonist responds by noting that times have changed, just like the amount of hair on his head. The demon sword is not the most dangerous thing he is carrying. The old man, unable to accept this, announces with total commitment that he will personally drill manners into this child from scratch, which is the most unhinged overreaction to a bald joke we have ever witnessed, and we have seen a lot of manhwa. He pivots immediately into a guild recruitment pitch. Chivalry Guild, personal scouting. Rare. The protagonist declines without ceremony, at which point a bystander helpfully whispers that supervisors basically never personally scout people, as if that information might change the answer. It does not change the answer. The system, cutting through all of this interpersonal drama with perfect timing, asks one question: move to the second floor? He says move. No deliberation, no drama, no final look at the man still mid-recruitment pitch. Just move. He vanishes in a burst of blue light before the old man can finish extending his hand, which is honestly the cleanest way to exit a guild recruitment conversation, and we are taking notes. And we arrive on the second floor, which is an open-air market. Vendors hawking deep-sea fish from Runeterra, special dried meat, Murim-made silk next to Earth-made leather jackets. This floor is apparently the interdimensional night market nobody put on the brochure. He goes quiet. He says he is back in this place. He seized a chance he normally would not have gotten. The expression is small in content and the blue glow is soft, and for exactly one panel we set the comedy down and just let the regression weight land. He has to handle things better than before, for the comrades who might be waiting. The sky is blue, the city is alive, there is a glowing green ribbon floating in the air between buildings, and somewhere out there a red-haired man is carrying a defeated monster home like groceries and grinning about it, which means the second floor has characters, and at least one of them is going to be a problem. Training Room 5 just sent its invoice, and the currency is structural damage. We open on the kind of impact that makes the front desk guy briefly question every career choice he's ever made. The old man at the desk wakes up mid-drool, blinks at the ceiling, and his first conscious thought is whether he is still dreaming. A totally reasonable question when your training rooms sound like a demolition site. He clocks the timer, realizes barely 10 minutes have passed, and his expression cycles through every stage of grief in about 2 seconds. He told this kid to use room 1, he said it clearly, and here we are. Door number 5 is vibrating on its hinges like it owes someone money, and our guy steps out from behind it looking like a man who just had a very productive argument with the laws of physics. The old man peeks around the door frame like he's checking a crime scene, opens it the rest of the way, takes one look inside, and begins shouting with the energy of a man who deeply regrets the no-refund policy he himself set. And here is what he saw. A giant rolling sphere, scattered arrows, bodies on the floor, a room that used to have walls and now has opinions about where walls should go. Training Room 5 has been thoroughly uninstalled. A golden sword embedded in the rubble like a loading screen asset that never despawned. A crescent blade lying in the debris like it retired mid-fight. The room is asking, with genuine distress, what happened here and honestly same. Cut to morning. Our guy stretches in bed, winces, and reflects that if the nameless magic sword had been a normal cursed weapon, he would have absolutely cooked himself. The sword absorbs HP to boost stats, which is a very aggressive monetization model. He sits in a cafe looking pensive. The physical toll went down. He actually managed to draw out the sword's power, and the sweat drop on his cheek says this is the calm, calculating version of him doing a post-session performance review. Quick flashback to the training session itself. He grips the nameless magic sword, it recognizes him, and the system immediately pops up to announce that all abilities are temporarily increasing. Patch notes. The buff has a subscription fee paid in your own blood. The backlash hits and his face says everything, teeth clenched. A tear forming, red aura absolutely cooking him, but the wedge of greed skill kicks in and partially absorbs it, which is exactly the kind of codependent relationship you want with your passive abilities. He holds the glowing red sword through the strain, HP and MP start ticking back up via the sword's own restoration mechanic. But then the next notification drops. Wedge of Greed level 1 fails to fully resist the backlash, fatigue slightly increases, partial success, full suffering. The sword is now openly drinking his HP like an Uber Eats order it didn't consent to, his eyes go red. He is visibly straining, and the notification cheerfully clarifies that abilities increase proportional to HP loss. This is a risk-reward build that HR would never approve. He hits the wall, his limit, blood at the corner of his eye, tears streaming because his body is quite literally being used as fuel. And at this point, we are less watching a training montage and more watching a man negotiate directly with death. The system, which has not been given a personality but is developing one out of spite, responds, still within expectations, and immediately spends 10,000 credits to level up Wedge of Greed. He didn't authorize that transaction, but the system has decided they're past asking permission. Wedge of Greed level 2 activates. The backlash resistance is now partial success instead of failure, and the sword immediately celebrates by sending a red slash through the training room that disagrees with the concept of floors. His eyes are full red now, the aura is wrapping his entire silhouette, and there is a panel of just his glowing eye that this channel would like to nominate for Best Supporting Visual, calm, murderous, and extremely focused on a goal we haven't been told yet. Then he just goes absolutely feral in there. Mid-air strike, crescent blade into the wall, full debris field. The training room did not survive this encounter, and we are giving it a moment of silence. Back in the cafe and back to the analysis. Normally with these stats, level 10, strength 17, agility 17, stamina 16, focus 18, you are not carrying a dungeon, you are the person who gets carried and then gets left behind. But the nameless sword plus Wedge of Greed turns those numbers into something that breaks shields and kicks clean through mid-bosses, which is what a perfect compatibility rating does. Your build is technically broke, patch notes pending. He figures out that a lightning combination should work with the sword's existing kit, takes a satisfied sip of his drink, and for one brief moment, this man looks like someone who has a plan instead of someone who is surviving on vibes and passive skills. And then the other shoe drops. Wedge of Greed needs 20,000 credits to hit level 3, his current balance is 50 credits, and his internal response to this information is a genuinely defeated question about whether he was always this broke. Yes, my guy, you died with 50 credits to your name. He acknowledges the fall from grace with the energy of someone who has processed it and moved on. He died, that's why the credits are gone, can't be helped, achievement unlocked. Poorest regression protagonist in recent memory. Meanwhile, a streamer nearby is doing a fresh start run on floor 2. Live, with the energy of someone who has never once had their HP eaten by a cursed sword, and the algorithm is absolutely rewarding them for it. Side quest energy fully activated. Someone dumps coffee on the streamer reacts badly, and a bystander on the street outside watches our protagonist walk past and asks if he's crazy. No, he just has a lot on his mind and none of it involves your opinion. Then a gray-haired man in an extremely ornate jacket appears, smiling pleasantly, asking if he came up to this floor too, and the protagonist's body language immediately goes to threat assessment mode, which is a very specific reaction to a friendly greeting. His body reacts before his brain does, instinctive, visceral, the kind of response you only get from deep muscle memory attached to a bad history, and then his conscious mind catches up. Looks like they did not have a good relationship in the previous timeline. The man in the ornate jacket is clearly enjoying himself, smug about the awkward energy, and our protagonist is crouching down checking his device while actively dissociating from the conversation. The internal monologue says this is not discomfort. It is something else, something the chapter title probably already spoiled. He looks left with a distressed expression. His hand is trembling on the table, and whatever memory this man is triggering has bypassed all the rational self-control he spent 30 minutes of HP getting and is coming straight up through the floor. The ornate jacket man, who we now understand is the flavor of antagonist who phrases cruelty as casual conversation, remarks that he never expected a weakling like our guy to clear the tutorial, figured a goblin would have handled it for him, delivered with a smile that is legally a threat. The name drops into focus like a system notification, wide eyes, memory unlocking, recognition hitting at cellular level, and the chapter delivers it clean, white text on black, one word, Isaac. The flashback comes flooding in. A younger version of our guy, dirt on his face, tears running, asking why, and Isaac's past self responds by finding the question deeply inconvenient and the answer deeply optional. Isaac, crouching over the kid in the white shirt, explains in that calm, abusive authority figure voice that the name annoys him, that the kid can't follow simple instructions, with the red glowing eyes of someone who has decided this is fine and normal behavior. The kid tries to explain that the credits he was given weren't enough, a completely reasonable point, and the flashback makes clear that this explanation landed exactly as well as you'd expect when the person you're explaining it to has already decided to hit you. He gets struck, the broken object hits the floor, and Isaac leans in to deliver the full terms and conditions. That box is your home now, you are never getting out, no exceptions, the villain origin story is not being subtle, and we are not okay. The warnings land one after another, step out on your own and you know what happens. What kind of idiot just takes a beating, and the younger version of our protagonist sits there with his yellow eyes, processing, filing every single word away for later. Then adult Isaac, back in the cafe, recounts how he cleared step 20 in the tutorial and broke his father Lord Reinhardt's record. And Supervisor Hugo gave him praise. He is describing a lifetime of external validation with the energy of a man who has never once been told no. He also learned a B-rank skill as a clear reward, apparently the highest you can get in the tutorial, and he is smug about it in the way only someone who has never met the person sitting across from them, the future version of the person they put in a box, can be. Isaac wraps up by asking our guy to buy him coffee on the way back. Anything cheap is fine, just pick whatever, and our protagonist holds his mug, looks over his shoulder at him and says, "Buy your own coffee." Isaac clocks the change immediately, the wide-open staring, the snapping back, the refusals, and asks with genuine curiosity if his soul got swapped somewhere, which is the most accurate thing this man has said all chapter and he has no idea. And then our guy puts it on the table plainly. He doesn't have time to take care of your revenge arc, there's a queue. But if Isaac gets in the way of his revenge, his own, personal, preloaded 30 minutes of HP already invested revenge, that is a different story entirely. Isaac's eye goes wide, The tension slams into the room like a sound effect the translation left in Korean, and our protagonist's fist is already clenched before the conversation has technically become a confrontation. Isaac grabs him by the jacket and tells him to let go if he knows what's good for him. And the man who just spent 30 minutes being eaten alive by a cursed sword, who has 50 credits, a B-rank nemesis, and nothing left to lose, looks back over his shoulder with the calmest expression we have ever seen on someone holding a revenge cue. Patch notes 1.0.7. Tutorial cleared, villain located, first direct contact established. The revenge arc has officially left early access. Wake up, dead. Immediately do the obligatory hand stare. Manhwa physics. Hand staring is how you confirm you've been isekai'd. Except our boy's not staring at his hands, he's staring at the guy who just tried to reenact every workplace harassment PSA in one conversation. Internal monologue says I can't cause a scene in front of this crowd. Buddy, you are the scene. The crowd is just background NPCs waiting for their dialogue to unlock. Someone's gripping his arm like he's a limited edition figurine at a convention. Enter Isaac Reinhardt, stage right, laughing like he just read his own fanfiction. The face of a man who peaked in high school and has been coasting on that B-rank skill ever since. Don't be scared, I was just giving you a little scare like old times. That's not banter, that's a confession. The hand on his arm with those gold-trimmed sleeves. You're still as much of a small fry as ever. The tutorial dismissal. This is every griefer who ever teabagged you in a game and called it just a prank, bro. The protagonist's trauma is being monetized in real time. Protagonist raises a hand, not to strike, to calculate, though I get that you're feeling good about yourself but is doing so much heavy lifting it's getting overtime pay. Then he steps. 1 foot. The boot hits tile with the sound of a man who has decided. Red eyes, malicious smirk. If I wanted to, I could quietly make you disappear. Isaac's threatening the wrong guy. The protagonist already disappeared once. He's back on a speedrun. You can't threaten a man who's treating his own death like a tutorial skip. Be careful, my friend. The hand hold, the smile that doesn't reach anything. The my friend that sounds like a curse in 3 languages. Then they walk. SHHH. The sound of a protagonist deciding that revenge is a dish best served with compound interest. He looks back, blue eyes. What, my friend? The internal monologue is screaming. The mask is slipping. The system hasn't even booted up yet, and he's already running out of patience for this timeline's difficulty curve. Then the world splits. Cosmic purple on one side, demonic red on the other. The tower's loading screen is having an aesthetic crisis. This is what happens when your death game runs on 2 different engines and neither one has been patched since the beta. Exposition dump time, but make it fashion. Tower trials cost credits, virtual space, safe death, lose progress only. The narrator voice is doing that thing where it explains the mechanics like we're reading a terms of service agreement. Safety is guaranteed, famous last words of every MMO launch. But outside, real hunting grounds, real monsters, real you truly die energy. The orc general roars. 2 swordsmen prepare to become paste. The text box says growth is significantly faster. The subtext says we have a waiver for that. Skeletal remains, you truly die. The monster's mouth is still dripping with the last guy's significantly faster growth. This is the tower's business model, FOMO as a fatal condition. The safe route is slow. The fast route is a meat grinder. Choose your player retention strategy. There's no need to take life-threatening risks. The safer it is, the slower it is. The protagonist sits next to a dead green thing with a sword through its chest like it's a Tuesday. He's already doing the math. He's already bored. Then he sees it. Another masked streamer. 80,000 viewers. Peace sign to the 4th floor today. The donation alerts are popping off. The protagonist's brain does that thing where it connects 2 neurons and creates a startup. Streaming, credits, speedrun, content. He holds the tablet like it's a holy relic. How many people have used this same concept? The system answers, enough that there's a mission registered called Narukami Subaru is an idiot for 20,000 credits. The market has already priced in his humiliation. Efficient. He adjusts the mask. The sparkle effect is doing overtime. Then the real missions drop. Prove you can clear it, I'll generously add 15,000C without being stingy. The chat is betting on him like he's a horse race. He is the horse. He is also the jockey. He is also fixing the race. Narukami Subaru easily earning money through streaming. Subaru fighting monsters risking his life. The duality, the mask. The 50 credits in his account screaming poverty. He's doing the thing. He's becoming his own ghost. The cosplay is the reality. The stream is the sword. Dungeon cleared? Phew, the relief of a man who just remembered he can actually do this. The fallen monster with the red spike, the purple energy, he's not even breathing hard. First life, 30 floors of trauma. Second life, Tuesday afternoon content. White hair, smug, ornate weapon, blood splatter, someone else's highlight reel. All right, one more job then. The protagonist is watching the competition and taking notes. The competition is posing. One of them is playing a different game entirely. Orc foot, impact. Boss alert, Orc General has appeared. The tutorial boss has arrived fashionably late. The protagonist's internal monologue says orcs again, like he's complaining about the matchmaking algorithm. Even without poison needles, he has something better. He has the wiki. He is the wiki. He draws the nameless demon sword, the hum, the red glow, the I'm busy, I don't have time to waste on trash like you. This is not a hero's speech. This is a speedrunner's speech. Any percent no death until proven otherwise. The orcs are about to become content. System text, nameless demon sword absorbs the user's HP. All stats increase proportionally. Wedge of Greed LV2 resists the recoil. The build is coming online. The glass cannon influencer build. High DPS, 0 HP dependent on external validation. Wait, that's just streaming. Fast mode, he stomps the orc head like he's canceling an animation. The foot meets face with the force of a man who has done this before. The Orc General's minions are learning that trash was not a metaphor. It was a classification. Orc Warrior raises spear. Red energy. The protagonist is already behind him. The strike lands before the animation finishes. The shadow figure lunges. The camera can't keep up. This is what happens when you give a speedrunner frame-perfect inputs and a grudge. Quang, the sound design budget is being spent. He lunges with the red blade. Energy trails. The Orc General looks up and realizes this was not in the script. The tutorial boss has encountered a player who has already cleared the game. Patch notes 1.0 Tutorial bosses now have existential crisis mechanics. Scream, red eyes. The demon sword drinking HP like it's a sponsored energy drink. The protagonist is glowing. The protagonist is screaming. The protagonist is winning. This is not a fight. This is a demonstration. This is a trailer for the channel. Dungeon, whispering orc nest cleared. The system announces what the orcs already learned. Then the reluctant line, so I have to wear this again. The mask, the persona, the content cycle, even victory is just another costume change. I've clearly understood how streamers can earn money. The white panel, the bold text, the hand to the face. I'll go all out with what I'm good at. The protagonist has found his meta. The meta is being himself, but masked, but streaming, but also kind of dying. The modern creator economy. The mask goes on, black and gold, the light from above like a spotlight, the stride forward, the sword in hand. Narukami Subaru has started a live stream. One viewer, the loneliest number, but one is infinitely more than 0 and 0 is where he started. The grind begins. Souten Entertainment. The building, the office, the empty desks. The woman with the red and gold hair ornament looking stern. This is the agency that will discover him, sign him, exploit him, or be left behind. The talent scout who doesn't know she's about to become a protagonist accessory. She holds the glowing device. Gritted teeth. RRHHH. The desk slam, the card crack. The blue-haired man flinching like he's been caught in a gacha pull he can't afford. Hatsuka. The name is coming. The name is always coming. Remember, if the self-censorship sound comes in first, it's 1,000 credits, right? The bureaucracy of streaming, the monetization of morality. So what happened? Who is it this time? The blue-haired man and the brown-haired woman, wide-eyed, already tired. Subikichi, is it Narukami Subaru or another fake Narukami Subaru? The question that defines the era. The real one is dead. The fakes are multiplying. The concept has overtaken the man. Who knows, maybe it's a hybrid of both. The most accurate description of internet identity ever committed to manga. Since the original Narukami Subaru isn't appearing, if the concept overlaps, the biggest one is pretty much the original. The logic of simulacra. The copy becomes the real when the real stops showing up. Everyone and their mother is cosplaying as Narukami Subaru and making a ruckus. We live in a society. Is live streaming dead already? The eternal question. Don't say scary things. The eternal response. We're able to make a living thanks to streamers, you know. The eternal dependency. They don't even know the first thing about it. The eternal contempt. This office is every creative industry ever. Even players who risk their lives climbing the tower find it tedious. The brown-haired woman shouting, the blue-haired man sweating. Hatsuka, the recognition, the sigh, the this again energy. Hatsuka is the believer. Hatsuka is the problem. Hatsuka is about to be right. Then why did you give up on the tower and linger in a place like this? The blue-haired smirk. The question that cuts. The answer that doesn't come. The tower rejects you and you become the person who watches others climb. The spectator's tragedy. The pensive look. The device in hand. If I were free, I'd properly look for new talent and shut your mouth. The frustration of middle management. The dream deferred. The woman yelling while he holds the phone like it's a grenade. Souten Entertainment is a powder keg of unfulfilled climbers. No, I dropped out because I lacked skill. Just keep quiet about what you're doing. The confession, the shame. Well, he started climbing the tower just to meet Narukami Subaru for a day, so. The motivation, the obsession, the parasocial relationship that literally destroyed a career. There's an amazing kid here. The exclamation, the discovery, the woman angry holding the blue card, the man in the suit partially visible. Hatsuka has found him. Hatsuka has found the real one, the fake one, the hybrid, the whatever, the believer believes. Narukami Subaru's new cosplayer. The Chibai announcement. The masked man looking down. One viewer. The loneliest stream. The stride through the cave. He's doing it. He's actually doing it. The most famous dead man in the tower is live and nobody knows. This is outrageous. The blue-haired Chibai. This is supposed to be talent scouting. Don't mess with me. The frustration. Why are you watching a second-floor stream? And with 0 viewers, the logic, the numbers, the despair of watching someone bet their career on a ghost in a mask. The blue-haired man shocked. The brown-haired woman concerned. The masked man looking down, the kneeling apology. Please forgive me, the power dynamic has inverted. The scout is begging. The talent is silent. The stream is live. The viewer count is about to become irrelevant. Starting the second floor first trial. The system voice, clear the dungeon of beginnings and exit. The objective. Achievement points will be granted based on monsters defeated. The economy. The protagonist is walking into the cave like he's clocking in. The grind is the game is the grind. He holds the glowing device. The confidence. The second floor trial isn't so hard that it makes me nervous. The but hangs in the air. The hesitation, the feeling of being watched, the pressure, even a regressor feels the weight of performance. The stream is the sword, the chat is the shield. The chat pops, what floor is that? First time, 2 viewers, love money. The protagonist answers, yes, it's my first challenge. The honesty, the vulnerability, the calculation, every word is content. Every silence is suspense. The streamer brain is always on. Are you sure? Is it okay to stream? If it's your first time? The concern, the parasocial worry. The protagonist walks through the golden-lit cave. The dark organic mass on the right. Something is waiting. Something is always waiting. The chat doesn't know. The chat will learn. Fast mode, the bat manifests. Purple, one-eyed. Aggressive, the protagonist's shoulder glows. The energy manifests. The punch connects. The speed lines are doing overtime. The one-eyed bat is learning that first time was a lie. The streamer is a smurf. The smurf is streaming. The wings strike. The lunge, the squeak of surprise, then the punch, yellow eyes, mask-like face, the impact effect. The bat didn't sign up for this. The bat thought it was the tutorial. The bat is the tutorial. The bat is being taught. Blade clash, white flash, red energy, the impact from below, the tentacle shapes. One-eyed bat defeated, 1 achievement point acquired, the notification, the point. The grind, the protagonist is already moving. The stream is live, the content never stops. The masked figure. Glowing white eyes, golden light, dark energy, the streamer face, the persona, the mask that sees everything and reveals nothing. Narukami Subaru is live. Narukami Subaru is back. Narukami Subaru is earning 1 achievement point at a time, and the chat has no idea what they've found. Welcome back to Manhwa. Patch notes, where the tutorial never ends and neither does my commitment to treating lethal tower climbing like a Twitch category. Layer 2 just dropped, and our boy's already speedrunning the starter dungeon like he's got a subathon timer ticking down. The system announces achievement points for monster kills, and chat immediately clocks him as a Layer 2 streamer, which in tower terms is like being a just chatting streamer trying to break into Elden Ring. The skepticism is palpable, the viewer count is 6, and the grind is real. He tells the chat he prefers challenging things alone, which is streamer for I have no friends and the algorithm is my only companion. 6 viewers. 6. I've seen VTubers debut to bigger crowds and they're just waving at a PNG. Internal monologue reveals the name Narukami Subaru is doing the heavy lifting on viewer acquisition, which is fascinating because in his past life that name cleared 30 floors and in this one it's struggling to clear double-digit concurrence. The brand recognition is there, the SEO is not. He finds some mud merman and immediately demonstrates that his reflexes are not, in fact, beginner tier. Chat does a collective double take. Someone asks if anyone else saw that. No, chat, no one saw it. The VOD will not save you. This is live content, baby. 2 achievement points for the mud merman, and the protagonist's eyes are doing that thing where they glow yellow and promise violence. You know the thing, every manhwa has the thing. This is the thing. The one-eye bats swarm, and he pulls the nameless demon sword, which is still consuming his life force like a parasocial relationship consumes your will to live. The sword is doing the red-black energy thing, the bats are doing the screeching thing, and I'm doing the okay that's actually metal thing. Oh, he's going for and the bat just gets deleted. Chat asks what that was. Emperor, who has apparently seen some things, can only manage something? Happened. White roasts him for the understatement. The moderation team is not okay. Achievement notifications stack up like a speedrun PB. 2 one-eye bats, 2 more mud mermen, and the protagonist is standing on a pile of corpses like he's posing for a thumbnail. The demon sword is hungry, the chat is confused, and the content is flowing. Chat finally catches up. Pigeon user declares talent is everything. Sunny 486 notes he's sticking to his concept. Tambourine Master accuses him of riding Narukami Subaru's coattails, which is hilarious because we know and he knows and the coattails are his own damn coattails. The irony is not lost. The irony is the content. Still not enough? The man's internal monologue is just grinding. He wants maximum achievement points before extraction, which is min-max behavior I deeply respect and personally find terrifying. This is the face of someone who has done the math on fun and found it insufficient. Chat warns him about charging ahead. Manly Virtue Man says a real man charges silently, which is the kind of advice that gets you killed in Dark Souls. Tambourine Master predicts trouble. The protagonist's golden eyes say good. Trouble is content. Trouble is the grind. The cave walls sprout eyes, dozens of them. Then the swarm drops. This is not a boss fight, this is a subscriber milestone from hell, and the protagonist is about to find out if his build can handle bat aggro at volume. The red eye glows. The wolf is watching. Manly Virtue Man claims vindication. Pigeon user says see you on the retry. But then a mission pops. My lonely stream offers 100 credits to defeat them all. The protagonist accepts. Chat, we are not the same person who entered this cave. Meanwhile, at Souten Entertainment, Seijin is having a breakdown because he bet on this stream and the streamer is currently fighting a bat army with 6 viewers. He's screaming about his money. His colleague is on the phone. This is what we call engaged viewership. The blue-haired man is losing it. The woman is trying to contain the situation. And then someone says the quiet part out loud, Narukami Subaru. The name hits the room like a system notification. Seijin's eyes go wide. The stream he's been gambling on just became a legend heist. Back in the cave, 2 observers in black discuss his sword direction. One says it only looks like single swings from the start. The other asks if he's calculating fluid movements and planning accordingly. The answer is yes. The answer is always yes. He's not fighting, he's choreographing. The white-haired one mentions Shigear found it strange too. Then he pivots to communication theory, eye contact, immediate conveyance. The Chibai interlude is doing a lot of emotional labor here. 2 grown men discussing a dead man's observations while our protagonist stabs bats in a cave. Tower life. He demonstrates the bat takedown technique mid-combat, which is streamer for I'm so good I can teach while executing. The explanation involves head thrusts, timing, and geometry. Chat says it explains nothing. Handsome Orc compares it to if you put your foot forward you can walk. The pedagogy is not landing. Pan Run calls out the explanation gap. My lonely stream demands the newbie labelers step forward. Emperor repeats his catchphrase. White roasts him again. Heel PLZ admits he's on a higher layer getting lectured by a layer 2 streamer. The hierarchy is collapsing. The content is ascendant. He scratches his head, checks his phone, and my lonely stream diagnoses him as a streaming beginner despite the skills. Love Money has to explain how to accept missions. The man who once led 8th floor raids is getting UI tutorials from chat. Patch note 7.0. Tutorialization is eternal. Mission cleared, 100 credits from my lonely stream. The protagonist says thank you very much, which is polite because in this economy every donor is a lifeline and every lifeline is a boss fight waiting to happen. Credits held, 150. Achievement points, 118. We are so back. Soughton Entertainment Update. The blue-haired man is still spiraling, the woman has reached her limit, and someone says you're overreacting, it's still just layer 2. This is the most dangerous sentence in tower streaming. Every disaster starts with it's just layer 2. And then Hatsuka says it. Could it be? The reincarnation of Narukami Subaru? She's silhouetted against gold, arms spread invoking the trope by name. Seijin dies inside, the reincarnation trope. In the story, named, we are so meta the meta has meta. The woman can't close the stream. The man won't let her. Department head John Tail is mentioned with the kind of dread usually reserved for tax audits and algorithm changes. They decide to keep watching, keep gambling, keep hoping the lonely streamer with 6 viewers is actually a dead legend in a mask. The protagonist reaches the dungeon's end. No more bats, no more mermen, just a door and the weight of what's behind it. He knows, we know, the system knows. The only ones who don't know are the 6 people in chat and the gambling addicts at Soughton Entertainment. And here you are, Wolf Warrior Greg, Layer 2 Gatekeeper, not a monster for hunting but an assessor of souls, a judge of whether you deserve to proceed. The system says gain his approval. The protagonist says, actually no, let's see what the mission board says about that. Greg powers up, the aura flares, the wolf roars, and the mission, 3,000 credits to defeat him, not pass, defeat. The protagonist looks at the offer like it's a raid tier he already cleared in beta. The mask hides his smile, the eyes don't. 20 viewers now? Chat's calling him mean. Heel PLZ says he probably has no intention of giving Greg a free pass. The protagonist confirms this by accepting the 3,000 credit bounty on a gatekeeper's head. This is not how you make friends in the tower. This is how you make content. And he's going for, Greg snarls, the scarred face, the stitched wound, the yellow eyes promising violence the tutorial never prepared you for. The fist comes down, the protagonist meets it. Layer 2 just became main event. Chat, we are not okay. Achievement unlocked, first gatekeeper speedrun. See you in the trial.